Alright, so we have gone ahead and built our basic timeline here. We have added in some B-roll and we have adjusted the audio. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put some graphics on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off audio 3 and 4. I'm going to close up 1 and 2. So now I have no audio at all, and I'm going to turn off video 2, turn on video 3, and map my source video up to 3, to this highest track here. Because what we're going to do is we are going to build some graphics, and I'm going to give you guys some leeway on how to do that. But you're going to start by going to Title, New Title, and you can build a template and save that out. We're not going to do that for this class, but we're going to go to a default still here. And this is all the basics here, and you do want to give this a name. So this is Walter, and we're going to call it a lower third. All right, and all of the rest of this stuff you're going to leave alone. Now I'm going to make this nice and big so we can see what's going on in here. But we have a whole bunch of different tools that we can play with here. We've got a bunch of different type styles and things like that down here, so there's some default stuff. What I like to do is, because I don't necessarily know what's going to be behind my text, I like to build some sort of a little box. So what I'm going to do first is choose the box here, and the fill color. Why is this not letting me choose this? There we go. So I'm going to choose a box, I'm going to draw it, and then the first fill color I'm going to put in here. I'm going to do, since we're in Georgia, let's do a nice red. So, and I'm going to click OK. So that gives me that. And then I'm going to move this down, and not going to have to worry about being too precise here, as you will see in a moment, but we'll get it down to about there. So then I'm going to come ahead and I'm going to do another box that I'm going to put on top of that one. And this one, instead of filling it with red, I'm going to fill it with pure black. And I'm going to click OK. And on this one, by choosing that arrow tool, I'm going to bring it up so that I'm right about there, and I'm going to bring the top of this down so I'm right about there. And what this has done now is I've got a background on which to put my text. I've got a black bar and a red bar, and both of those will work pretty well with some white text. Now, the funny frames that you see here, these are called wireframes, and these are because some televisions and some screens, you will lose some bleed off at the edges. Since most of the stuff that we do is going to be online, you don't have to worry a whole lot about that. So now I'm going to hit the type tool, and I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to draw my first box, and then click inside of it, and I'm going to type Walter Washington, which you're not going to see. I'm going to hit Select All or Command A in here, because I need my color to be white, and apparently I did not get that to type in there. So now, and this is where it gets really fun, because I'm not sure why I am not getting, there we go, Walter Washington. I'm going to select all of that, and I don't want that, so I'm going to come down and you know my affinity for Helvetica, so let me go ahead and get to Helvetica New, and I'm going to do that as a condensed black, and I can come up here along the top and I can start playing with the size. So I probably want that around 48. That makes it a little smaller. Grab the tool here, can slide this down. How is that going to fit in my box? That's going to fit very nicely. Maybe it's a little big. Come in, let's change this to say 44 so that it fits nicely inside my black there. And I'm going to slide it over so that it's nice and easy to align with that part of the wireframe. You know, I'm still losing part of that G, so I think what I might actually do is choose the black box. I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. Now, depending upon where you're working, you'll have templates for something like this, but for this project, I'm going to let you go ahead and just sort of build your own. So go ahead, and we're going to say he's from La Fonda Dogs. I'm going to select all of that. I generally want to make the second one smaller, so let me bring this down to 36. I need to make the color on it again. Let's do pure white. I can change, using my tools up here, this to say bold italic, and that looks like it might work. Grab this, come in here, and I can drop that down below it, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, you know, maybe I want to try 32, maybe I want to try 30. Yeah, let's see how that looks. And that doesn't look too bad there. So I'm keeping it in the red. Maybe I want to move it down a little bit. Again, I tend not to worry too much about the wireframes there, but those give you the idea where different screens may crop off some stuff. So once I'm done with all of this, I have a couple of options here. I could save it out as a template, and the way that I could do that is, I'm trying to remember where it is. Tell you how to do that if you ask. I'm gonna have to go look it up again. But it's sort of odd. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this. And what's going to happen is down here in my list of media now, I'm going to have that. So I'll actually be able to go ahead and duplicate that later if I want. So what I'm going to do is bring this back here to the start. I'm going to set an in point, and I'm going to let it run for about 4 or 5 seconds.
Well, my name is Walter Washington, and this is my third.
To about there, set an out point, and then with this selected, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to drag it over. Right? And what I can do is I can come to the end here and I can adjust the end. So now if I go back to the beginning, I'm going to see Walter and I'm going to see the graphics, and I probably need to play around with the height of that a little bit more. So let me bring this back up. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to bump that down again, and I think this is going to update that there, and if not, I'm going to take that, delete it, take that, drag it on over here, and that looks a little bit better to me. And again, I can just take this end here and I can drag it to where I want it to go. And now what I'll have is Walter's name and his title there down below.
Well, my name is Walter Washington, and this is my third football season.
And that'll disappear once it's done. All right. Now, if you want to do an end graphic, we can once again go to Title, New Title, Default Still, and let's do this as End Graphic. We're going to call it that, and I'm going to take a box, and I'm going to draw it bigger than this whole thing, like that, and I'm going to fill it with black up here. And then using the text tool, I'm going to go ahead and click there and say, let's go ahead and make this color white, just so that it's easy to see what it is that we are doing here. Video by, sorry, I always want to do this right. Option G, sorry, Option G. Let's bump this down to 32 to start. How about that? Option G. 2013. Mark E. Johnson. And the reason it's disappearing is because that box was small, but all of that is going to be there. And I'm gonna, and again, I'm going to select all of that, and I'm going to give it a typeface that I like more, like my favorite Helvetica. There you are. And I might do that as an ultralight like that. And that is looking, sorry, sometimes you gotta fiddle a little bit to get the right spaces here. I think that's actually a little too light, so let's go ahead and just make it light. There we go. And I'm probably going to take the, come on, there we go. It's a little fiddly sometimes. I'm going to take that and I'll make that a condensed black. So it's just got a little more weight. Maybe I'll move that up to 36 as well. Right? And once again, I'm just going to go ahead and close this, and it's going to show up as my end graphic. I'm going to go to the end of my project here. That's the last frame of the project, first frame of nothingness. I'm going to set an in point. I'm going to click on my end graphic, and I'm going to drag it over here. And I like to keep all of my graphics in sort of the same place here. So now, when I get to the end,
they'd be fresh and new, like it should be.
There's my credit and contact info, just like we would do in a regular photo. So that's how we put graphics on here, and you want to identify each person. You don't have to identify them every single time they show up, but the first time they show up, give them a little graphic, and then move on. And in our last one, we're going to show you how to do transitions.